Morning. Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see all of you guys. Wanted to make sure that I jumped on this week before the week was over. So I'm going to be talking a little bit in regards to some posts that I made on Facebook the other day concerning familiar spirits and whatnot. Had a lot of feedback on it. So people are always asking me to do a deliverance teaching and scope and all that. Good morning from Virginia Beach. I'll be in Virginia Beach August 12th. I am speaking at a conference called the Fearless Conference. Allison Moore is hosting it, so I'm looking forward to being back in Virginia Beach. Good to see all of you guys. Y'all pray that I do not fall asleep on Periscope, and I am so tired. Our church is on a fast, and we're praying every morning at 6, and then my children sometimes don't get that memo, so their sleeping patterns are a little bit still wacky. But good to see you. I'm looking forward to meeting you at Fearless as well. We have August is an extremely busy month for me. August 5th, I'll be in Wake Forest. Oh God, I'm forgetting the name of the church for Women's Conference. August 12th, I'll be in Virginia Beach, and then August 16th through the 19th, we have our School of the Prophets, and then the following week or the week after, I'll be in New Jersey. So it's a really, really busy month. But anyway, let's just jump right into it. And the title is The Believer and the Role of Spiritual Warfare, because when we really understand that we are in a war, it makes our life, I feel like, much easier. I think a lot of times, most of us live our life, Ryan, we're in Jersey, Easton, I believe, New Jersey, Easton, New Jersey, and it's over the Labor Day weekend. So that's where I'll be. We have to have an understanding that we live in a spiritual world, that what we see is not what really is. Scripture says what is seen is temporal, but what is unseen is eternal. And so every believer... Good. I'm glad you'll be there for the School of the Prophets. We're almost done closing out the registration. I think now we're probably down to like 3 or 4 spots left. So if you're planning on coming, register. It will change your life. I'm going to keep teaching, but I want to just give this little kind of background on this. So I've always taught prophets. I've always trained them. And the last 3 years, we've done the course via webinar where we take prophetic people from understanding their identity to understanding their pitfalls to understanding the deliverance process to understanding their specific role and the whole thing. My pastor, Matthew Stevenson, gave me a word last year that he was seeing a School of the Prophets, and that it was time to launch that School of the Prophets and release it. So the people that are going to be part of this first class are actually getting ready to see the manifestation of a prophetic word. And one of the reasons why it's important for prophets to be in environments, because we're in a webinar generation. I teach webinars. I make my money via webinars and using technology. However, there's some things that cannot be transferred through electronics and cannot be transferred through technology. So we're excited to get people in a place for 4 days straight and just really deal with everything that needs to be dealt with, activate them, impart them, and release them. So I know it's a big investment for a lot of people that are flying in, getting a hotel, registering for the course, but it will change your life. You'll be able to get in 3 days what you would normally take 30 years. And so there's levels of impartation that require face-to-face interaction. And I think that it's really important that this generation understands that. The dates of the school are August 16th through the 19th at the Hampton Inn in Raleigh, North Carolina. So you can go to askdrfaith.com/School of the Prophets. The schedule is up there. The hotel information is up there. Everything that you need. So we have some great guest speakers. Some of you guys follow Jeremiah Johnson. He has a ministry called Behold the Man Ministry. Follow him if you don't. He'll be teaching and speaking. And then we have a lot of prophetic guests from our church, prophets, leaders that are going to come and impart and teach as well. So All right, let's keep going on the topic of this. I did a little aside. So, spiritual warfare, we have to realize, thank you, Jasmine, for posting that for me, that we are not just physical, but we are spiritual. And the very nature of everything that happens in the natural is a result of the spiritual atmospheres, is a result of the supernatural or the spiritual aspect of who we are. There's nothing that happens in the natural that has not already been given permission to manifest in the spirit realm. And it's really, really important. Scripture is very clear about that. It's the same concept, the understanding that we're seated in heavenly places with the Father. So if you think about it literally, you'd say, okay, well, physically I'm here on earth. How can I be seated in heavenly places? But when we talk about that, we understand that we are spirit beings. And when you're dealing with the spirit realm, there are no time restrictions. There are no space restrictions. And that's why you will read scriptures and stories of people that were translated from one place to another, or they said, I don't know if I was in the spirit or outside of the spirit. So everything that we deal with demonically, when we're dealing with deliverance or helping people be set free on a physical basis, what we're dealing with are things that have already been set in motion on a spiritual basis. So the heart of the enemy and his people spiritually through a number of ways that will hinder them from physically becoming who God has called them to be, from physically living the life of freedom that Jesus died for, from physically allowing us to become who we've been called to become. So it is every Christian's responsibility to not shy away from understanding deliverance, from understanding the supernatural. And the reason I tagged it or hashtagged it, the School of the Prophets, every prophetic person, everyone with the prophetic mantle. There's a difference between a gift and the office. But if you feel like I am called into the office of a prophet, then you need to be walking in healing, you need to be walking in deliverance, and you need to be walking in prophecy. Those that have a strong prophetic gift, what you will see is that the Lord from time to time will give you aspects where you're able to discern things on the other side, things that are in darkness, and you're able to do deliverance. But it's not necessarily a mantle that you carry on your life. The difference between having a mantle and a gift is that your very presence can invoke the area around you. And having a gift, usually you have to speak it, you have to connect with whatever the issue is. But people that carry mantles, I've shared this before, maybe on here, I don't know, or to my church, but when my mom and I, we would go into places. There was a season where we and I ministered in these little country bumpkin churches, and we would go in there, and sometimes we would just go to visit or as an assignment for intercession. And as we got in there, these people would literally start manifesting. They would start crawling like snakes. They would start wrapping, around us. And when a person manifests, it is actually a cry for help. When a person begins to screech, when a person begins to manifest physically, it means that they have noticed that there is something there. Either the enemy is acting up, right, and he doesn't want to be bothered, but his manifestation is actually exposing him, or there's a cry for help that is coming out. So when you carry a mantle for deliverance, and all of us are deliverers as children of God, we're all called to carry something. But when you carry a specific mantle, you'll begin to see that you agitate atmospheres. And so you don't only agitate people or the demonic things that are in people, you will also find that religious systems cannot deal with you a lot. You will also find that people sometimes have a difficult time with you. They become jealous, or they become frustrated, or there's something about you that they just cannot put their finger on. And it's because you carry this. And a lot of people that are not trained prophetically or have not been discipled in the prophetic don't realize this. So then what the enemy does is he uses it as a tool of rejection. You say, well, why do people act funny around me? Why do people become jealous? Or why do people say certain things? But there's a mantle, and that's why it is crucial that you understand that this world is spiritual, that everything that you see, how people act and how they walk around, is a result of there's a spiritual thing that's going on here. So from the beginning of time, the enemy knows that if he cannot kill you physically, he's going to implore and begin to put things into place that can destroy you spiritually. spiritually, and I teach a lot on the mind, and I teach a lot on how to identify lies that the enemy causes you to believe, that causes cycles and patterns to go on. When I teach on deliverance and inner healing, and we'll teach on this at the School of the Prophets, what you will find is that it works twofold. So you will have somebody who has a traumatic experience or a wound of some sort, right? And one of two things are going to happen. Either their thinking is going to enslave them. So what that means is they'll begin to develop maybe fear or anxiety, or they'll begin to become suspicious. And if they don't deal with that, then it begins to open a door to the demonic. So a lot of times we're trying to deliver people from wounds, right? Something that happened to them, and there's not a deliverance issue because it's only at the place where it's struggling in their mind. However, if you do not deal with your thinking and you do not deal with your beliefs, then that opens doors to the demonic. All right. So when I was on Facebook, I was talking a little bit about familiar spirits because I had taught on it. All my periscopes are on my YouTube. You can find every periscope that I've ever done on YouTube. So sorry, my work phone is ringing. Someone is calling, but my last appointment was at 10 o'clock, so I'm not sure who that is. Anyway, so you can find all my periscopes on YouTube. So what happens is that when we are struggling in an area and we don't deal with the mental thinking, then there's a door that's open. Now, that's not the only way. There are 4 ways that a person deals with demonic entrances, and one of them is through the family. So when we talk about generational curses, you're dealing with things that have been passed down via family for years and years. And that's where familiar spirits come in. Familiar spirits, or the word familiar, actually is connected to or derived from the word family. And so what it means when someone is struggling with a familiar spirit is that they're struggling with spirits that are within the same family. Okay, someone is saying, no, you have a 10:30 appointment. Please email my admin. She does my scheduling, and see what's going on with that. All right, so you're dealing with spiritual families or groupings that are together. So when you're dealing with a familiar spirit, something has happened that has caused you to begin to attract other spirits that are in the same family. So for example, when somebody is molested, right, and they develop this spirit of fear, what happens is you will find that they continue to attract people that molest them, or continue to attract people that abuse them. That does not mean that these people are stupid or something is wrong with them. What it means is that there's a spirit of lust or a spirit of abuse that has now attached to them, that now attracts spirits in the same family to do the same thing. Partly it's connected to your thinking too. So when somebody goes through any kind of trauma or any kind of brokenness, what you will see is that they have thinking that, so for example, dealing with rejection, because a lot of people deal with rejection, they always say nobody's ever going to accept me. So they have that belief, and then every person they attract to them either abuses them or leaves them. You are not only operating in a thought, you've now invited a familiar spirit to connect to your thought, and now it is causing things to happen. It's causing things to cause you to go forward and to continue to attract the same kind of spirit. So it is really, really important that you understand that when we're dealing with spiritual things, that they are not only on a spiritual level, but they're also dealing with your mind. And that's why if your mind and your spirit and your body are aligned, then you will begin to see everything flowing together. But if you have things that you're dealing with emotionally, that you're dealing with spiritually, that are causing you issues, and you don't deal with them, you're going to see that you attract the same patterns. So one of the things that I said is that I was saying that a lot of people mistake covenant for a familiar spirit. And one of the things is that when we think we have covenant is we find somebody who we just get along with, who, we have the same background, we've had the same struggles. But one of the differences between covenant and a familiar spirit causes you to have maladaptive patterns. So you need to look at the fruit of your life. You need to look at the symptoms of what's going on in your life, because if your covenant relationships are not helping you to grow, they're not causing good fruit to come out of your life, then you're dealing with a familiar spirit. You either had a void in your life and you attracted somebody to fill that void, or you both, if you're dealing with lust or lying, both of you struggled with those spirits and they attracted you to each other. That's why dysfunctional marriages don't just happen. Most of the times when you marry somebody who's dysfunctional is because there is somebody in you that attracted that dysfunction. There's something in you that attracted that dysfunction. So either you were codependent, or you had an issue that was going on that went on. So give me a couple seconds. I want to text my admin to make sure that they deal with my scheduling conflict that just came up. So it is really, really important that you are aware of that, and you need to make sure that you're bearing good fruit in your relationships. Now, familiar spirits are not necessarily in you. They can also be on you. Familiar spirits are not necessarily in you. They can also be on you. So what you will see sometimes when people are delivered from things like homosexuality or drug abuse or severe mental health, they may have been delivered, meaning the demons have come out, but then you can see that there's what people call a residue. Sometimes that residue is connected to the familiarity or the spirits that were connected around them or are still in their environment. And so it is really important to even deal with that, so that there's no residue on your life when you have gone through massive deliverance, when you have gone through massive breakthrough. So I'm going to have to jump off because I want to make sure that my customer is taken care of. So I'm going to jump back on. I know that we have a lot of people on Periscope. I'm going to jump back on and finish, but I want to make sure that the customer that we had for 10 o'clock was really for 10 o'clock. I will jump back on. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back.